I think being a woman, being a black woman, there's so many expectations put on you.
To be over-friendly.
Yeah. Hi, I'm Kat Burns. I'm a singer. I've got ADHD and ASD. This is MTV Faces.
How you doing?
I'm good, how are you?
It's so good to see you.
I know.
Warm tones.
I tried.
On spec.
Yeah.
Kat,
Hello.
I've seen that in conversations you actually jiggle your leg.
I do jiggle my leg.
I jiggle my leg.
I do.
But I have to think to myself, no.
Yeah, same.
I want to see who does it first.
But I can't help it. It just ends up going. But then I have to be like, no, just chill.
Just
Settle.
Or if I'm like this, then it's
Yeah, Yeah.
I know.
Same here.
This is symptomatic of what we're going to talk about today.
Okay.
Right, ADHD.
Yeah.
You were diagnosed with ADHD 3 years ago.
Yeah.
Did you know before in yourself that you had ADHD or something along those lines?
Someone close to me was very much like, I think you might have ADHD.
Oh, really?
And I was like, maybe I do.
Really?
And then I was like, okay, maybe I need to like seek a diagnosis, because I felt like there was something different about me in terms of feeling like I was just unable to complete tasks and do things, and I was just really hard on myself and just thought that there was just something wrong with me. And so I wanted to like seek out and just see, why not let me just do this.
So was there a personal experience of yours in and around the ADHD diagnosis where you felt there was something more still to find?
After my ADHD diagnosis, I was like, okay, cool. That explains a lot. That explains my time management. That explains like my impulsiveness. That explains my trouble with like spending and feeling my emotions really intensely. There's a part of me that can't do routine. I can't do the same thing. I can't. But then there's the other side of me that's like, no, but I really do need it. And so that's where I'm like, that's where I just started to battle with myself, which is then how I then got my autism one, because I just felt like my ADHD side and autistic side were just clashing, and I just felt like I identify with everything that it means to be ADHD, but I also really identify obviously with then what it means to have autism.
I definitely think that people can get confused. Like I might have some traits of this, but then a lot of traits of that.
Yeah.
Because certainly for me with ADHD, when I accepted that I have it, I realized that the resources available to me made loads of parts of my life easier because I was able to acknowledge why I was feeling that way.
This is why I think it's so difficult, because the traits show itself differently in different people.
Right.
Like for me and like my autism, I'm such a homebody and such a recluse and such a loner and feel so safe in my own space.
Right.
That last minute change to plans or people cancelling is like a
relief.
godsend. It means I don't have to leave my house. It means I can remain in my space. So if people be like, I'm so sorry to cancel, I would just be like, that's literally completely fine. Whereas like, I'm a very much an overthinker of social interactions.
Yes.
I'm either really conscious of making intense eye contact so that I don't seem like I'm crazy. Because a lot of the time, like if I'm really listening, I'm usually probably looking away.
Yeah.
But the social norms is to look at someone. I think I'm in a place now in my life where I have acknowledged that I actually need to properly validate the fact that I have ADHD. And like, because I went through so much of my life without being diagnosed, it's very easy to invalidate your experience and still invalidate yourself even when you've had the diagnosis. And I feel like I'm at a point now where I'm like, no, but your brain is just different, and it's now time to start really looking at what things are out there to actually help you manage and then be able to communicate those needs to people.
With me, I've always struggled with tidying. Now, obviously, within our culture and society, being messy is like universally accepted as a bad thing, or associated with laziness or being unpresentable, not wanting to, you know. And I've always said to people, again, before I necessarily even knew how to put the right words to it, I said, when I look at that, it stresses me out. Like I know it stresses everyone out, but I get like, my brain goes actually blank. And considering that I'm quite a creative person and I'm very motivated, and I keep saying like, look, I know I don't want that to look like that. Yeah. But I wouldn't even know where to start.
I think that's what people don't realize with ADHD is like, it's like I'll be in my space and there have been times when my room is just completely just awful. Yeah. And I'm just like, I hate that it's in this state because it's not helping me whatsoever. It's actually making me even more stressed and overwhelmed. Yeah. But it's like my brain will decide when it's ready to tidy up, and it will be at like 2 a.m. where I'm just like, I've had enough and I just need to tidy this now. And you just have a mad head and you just get it completely done. But like, people don't get that we know a lot of things, and we have the want to make a change or try to be better or try to do these things. But
it's like reward center based stuff. It's like, for example, with me, I am happy with some mess if I can do something that excites me, which would be like writing. It's got that immediate reward. Whereas some people might look at a mess and be like, I will feel good after that. And they know that once it's gone, they'll feel good. I don't have that same. But my example of resources is I was putting away boxes and I kept having to sit down after about 5 minutes. And the person I was with was like, we got to get through these boxes. Like, I don't really know why you keep stopping. And then when I looked online, honestly, all I did was Google ADHD cleaning on YouTube. And it went, if you're trying to get rid of mess, you might experience immediate overwhelm, which would lead to more clutter, which leads to more overwhelm, which more clutter. And you get stuck in a feedback loop. And eventually, this is the craziest bit, with mess, it becomes invisible. It becomes furniture. And then I'm like, whoa. And then how do I deal with this? Pomodoro method was one option. 30-minute timer with a reward at the end.
Right.
I did this. Yo, I got hyper focused on the tidying, and I had to tear myself away. The timer was going off. Beep, 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 beep. Now it's time.
Oh my God.
Because I knew I was getting a reward.
What was the reward?
It would just be anything. You know what I mean? Like reading, playing a game or something.
Right. My problem is I just see everything in my life as a task to complete.
Right.
So I would see like that pile of clothes and go, oh, I need to do that. And then because I've said, oh, I need to do that, I'm just not going to do it.
You're not going to do it.
I get overwhelmed by the fact that I need to do it.
Yes.
And then I'm like, no, I just can't. I can't do that. I know a lot of neurodivergent people have like, they call it PDA, pathological demand avoidance.
Oh, I heard about this the other day.
I don't like the name pathological because it makes it sound like it's inherent and like really wrong.
Pathological is only negative connotations to that.
I like just the demand avoidance because it's basically saying like, everything is a threat to your autonomy. So it's like every demand made by anything.
It's just messing up the vibes.
Yeah. So then when I see stuff that I need to complete, I'm like, oh no, I just can't. And I get overwhelmed.
How has it been being diagnosed with ADHD as a woman? Because I hear that ADHD diagnoses are actually less regular for women because they show up in different ways.
Yeah.
And do you think some women with ADHD have been kind of like socialized to counteract it because of this expectation to be tidy and nest and everything? Or
I think it's more hidden. Like, I think there's a lot of things that, it's more socially acceptable for boys. And I think a lot of the research in the past that had gone into neurodivergency and ADHD had men at the center of it.
Yeah.
It was analyzing men. There wasn't as much research into women to know how and what the traits are for young girls. So hence why the diagnoses would come later for women, because it would show up in different ways. Like how I always thought of ADHD was just, the random kid in class that was just shaking and loud. But then actually there were probably 4 or 5 girls in there who were so quiet, shaking their leg.
Really?
And like super, super smart, but just couldn't focus, and all these kind of more internal things that you can't just see.
Yeah.
I think a lot of girls had that, and like probably their room was an absolute mess and they struggled to do a lot of things, but they just didn't share that. And they seem like on the surface, everything's fine. Like my sister got diagnosed with ADHD last year and she's 29 now. And she just felt like, I can't complete things, but she worked a normal job and she was struggling throughout that whole time. And I always saw her as like, oh, you're doing life fine. And she was like,
that's what I mean though. Is there like almost an extra pressure because it's less?
Yeah. Because there's so much that comes with being a woman, and there's so much guilt that you already live with and feel, that when you're not adhering or feel like you're not, living up to what society's view of you should be, you're even more hard on yourself. So then it's harder for you to even seek help because you just think, oh, I'm just lazy. Like, I'm just not trying hard enough. I'm just not doing this hard enough.
That's the worst feeling.
And then that's why I think it takes longer to get the diagnosis.
How has ADHD played into your music career? You've done well with music in, I guess, a short space of time. Yeah. Would you feel like 3 years?
Yeah.
Has that process been okay? It's quite a big experience, people knowing who you are, award shows.
It's funny because I say this to my family a lot. I'm like, my neurodivergency and what I do for a job directly like clash.
Oh yeah, because you have to be on all the time.
Yeah, you have to be on all the time. And I'm like, with autistic people, you're like masking all the time.
All the
as soon as
time.
you leave your house, you're masking again. I always say the easiest part of the job for me is like going into the studio, making songs
That's what
and
you love.
performing.
Yeah.
That's not the scary part of life for me. The scary part of life is coming off the stage and knowing I'm going to go to my dressing room. There's going to be loads of people in there that I'm going to have to speak to. They're going to be like, oh, well done. And I'm going to be like, thanks. And then we're just going to look at each other and it's just going to be awkward. For me, every day, like the socializing aspect of...
That's the panic.
Yeah.
Do you try and swerve people a little bit at those awards? Do you worry you'll come across as rude?
Yeah. And I think there's so many added layers of it. I think being a woman, being a black woman, there's so many like expectations put on you. So I'm very conscious
to be over friendly.
Yeah, to be over friendly so they don't think I'm rude.
Oh wow.
So I'm conscious of making sure I'm smiling and not making other people feel uncomfortable, which doesn't help my autism in, all right, well, I'm still having to mask and I'm still having to be this person. So it's they directly clash each other.
Yeah.
But my team are very good at kind of limiting like the amount of sort of intense socialization that I have to do.
I'm actually really good at masking. I had to be good. I think that's one of those things where I think I was slightly socialized out of it, or socialized so much with my mum's like the diversity of people I'd meet, and I'd constantly be introduced to new people. The masking is like second nature.
Yeah.
But with me, on TikTok,
Yeah.
I can't post any. I mean, I do post things, but like,
Is it a fear of being perceived?
How do you? Yeah, but you just so you have outside the masking is a lot, but you can just post like what?
Do you know what? So that's an interesting one because I know again people who are neurodivergent don't like being perceived, and I don't like being perceived, and it makes me really uncomfortable the thought of someone perceiving me. However, my want to be as successful as I'm meant to be overrides
The perceived thing.
Yeah. I go, no, but I want to post this. And I've been like that since I was little. I would just post it. I would just do it. And I just didn't care because I was just like, I just wanted to put myself out there.
You know what?
Yeah.
I think I actually did used to be like that.
Yeah.
When I was 18, 19 on the come up, I'd stick my neck out constantly. No one could tell me a thing.
When I was growing up, it was the same thing. It was very much like, just do it, just try it. That fear of being seen trying didn't exist.
No, I was fully promoting myself. I was putting stickers,
that
putting
was
demo
me.
packs through people's letterboxes. I was doing it all. So the process of getting diagnosed, how did that work for you?
ADHD one, I think I had a questionnaire.
Did they give other people the questionnaire?
Yeah.
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. So I had to do that. And then the process was really smooth. And I was just like, this is just my experience and this is what I go through. And then it was kind of like a week or 2 weeks later and they were like, here's your diagnosis. So I was lucky that it was a
straight into the medication.
Yeah, they were like, do you want to have medication? Do you not? And I was like, yeah.
Give it a go.
Yeah. I've tried the actual sort of stimulant medication that they've given.
Like Concerta?
Yeah.
Was it actually
and
Concerta?
Fexa and Elvans and stuff like that. I've tried them and I have found them really helpful. But I think I just kind of go on and off and I forget. That's probably
You forget to take it?
I just forget to take it.
Did they give you the long one that's like 12 hours?
Yeah.
Yeah, so you can't, literally, if you mess up,
you're
not sleeping.
Yeah.
You have to hit it at 9 a.m. or nothing.
Or nothing. So I would just forget and then it would just mess me up. So now I'm kind of just on the no medication vibes at the moment.
It's such a tough one because whenever I take the meds, like, yeah, I do focus for a couple of days, but it's this whole thing of then you build up a tolerance and then it has to get stronger. And then coming off them almost makes it not worth it.
Yeah.
Like the week after, if I come off, is bedlam.
Yeah. That's why I'm kind of just in a point where I'm kind of just wanting to look at other resources and other ways and just see if I can manage it kind of more holistically.
Have you got things you do exercise-wise or food-wise?
Recently, in the last few weeks, I've been very much like wake up, go to the gym.
Cool.
Like go into the sauna. Tried doing some ice baths. And they really do recalibrate your brain.
Proper.
Oh my goodness. Like, especially with ADHD.
But how long are you doing in there, be honest?
Not long.
Like 30 seconds?
Probably less than.
Less than 30?
Even less than 30, I still feel like, whoa.
No, it is the wake up.
Yeah.
People are arguing on the internet that apparently bringing it for too long is actually too stressful for your body.
That makes sense.
So that's what I tell myself when I get out early.
That makes
sense. I'm safe in my body.
Yeah.
So you're vocal about ADHD and autism. Has that brought you closer to a lot of your fans, or are they asking questions? Are they?
Yeah, they're super understanding. I've got really chilled out fans. I'm really lucky. Anytime I have like meet and greets or Q&As and things like that, a lot of my fans are also neurodivergent. Yeah. So we're kind of just awkward together, which is really nice.
Yeah.
And some are too awkward to hug, and I'm like, that's so fine because I probably also am awkward to hug as well. And we just sort of look at each other, and it's really like wholesome and just really sweet. And I think hopefully it's nice for them to see someone that has a similar life experience to them in terms of what they experience every day. They're like, oh, okay, I can be myself and still exist in spaces.
In your experience of neurotypical people, what's been a struggle explaining?
I think it's just letting neurotypical people know that we're not lazy.
Yes.
And
hard agree.
We aren't disrespectful, because I think a lot of some of these traits with ADHD, you can be labelled as something else and be labelled as disrespectful because you're not on time and you don't seem to respect people's time and like you're interrupting me when I'm talking about something and all these kind of things where it can make it seem like we're just sort of these away with the fairy people that aren't, you know, respectful or kind. And we're not lazy, we're not any of those things. Our brains just are working at 1,000,000 miles an hour.
Yeah.
And even the interruption, it's like, if I don't just say this thing right now, I'm going to forget. And then I'm not going to be present in the conversation. So it's kind of just saying to neurotypical people, please just give us some grace. We are having 1,000,000 things go through our brains and just trying to seem as quote unquote normal as we can.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, Kat. So if someone's thinking about getting diagnosed, what's your advice to them?
Get it.
Definitely.
Yeah, I think if you feel inherently different from everyone else and you just feel like, what is wrong with me? Go and get a diagnosis, because even if they tell you, no, you don't have that, at least you've got the clarity and you can still do things to help yourself. And if you do get the diagnosis, then you've got an infinite amount of resources there to like help you.
The resources is for real.
Yeah, I just don't think neurotypical people are going, oh my gosh, I feel so different. Like, why do I just not do things the way that other people? They just don't. I just don't think they do. Most people I know who have gone to get a diagnosis.
Kat, I feel like we should start asking around the room. I can't lie. I need like 3rd, 4th, 5th opinions.
I just don't think people who aren't neurodivergent.
Is there a worry, just to, again, that people feel ADHD as a topic is an inconvenience? I worry about that with neurotypical people, that like ADHD is a trend. I
think there is that conversation online, and I think there's different sort of things that have come out that have tried to aid that idea of ADHD just being this trendy thing that everyone just has it and everyone thinks that they have it. But it's remembering our echo chambers make it seem like everyone has it, but it's still a small amount. It's still a small community of people that have it. It's just the community are being louder about their experiences, and more people, after hearing other people's like ideas of it, they're like, oh, I identify with a lot of what this person's saying, so I'm going to seek out diagnosis because I identify with what's being told to me, if that makes sense.
So, Kat, neither of us have jiggled our legs really this whole...
No, we haven't.
I feel like we've maybe masked because we're aware that we have to show up as people who can control our impulses.
Yeah, and I think because we both have ADHD, we're
trying to not jiggle.
Yeah, I agree.
And I think we've done it well.
I think we have as well.
I really appreciate your time.
Thank you for having me.
And sharing, because this is going to help a bunch of people, and we're learning more and more about ADHD, and we're now ADHD fam.
We are.
I wish you all the best.
Thank you.
And keep killing it.
Thank you. I'll try.